Hello and welcome. Today, we're jumping into a topic that really separates a good audit from a great one, risk mitigation strategies, and specifically how they are baked right into the audit planning process.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Audit Guidebook. It's great to have you with us. This explainer is a key part of our Module 1.2 series, where we're breaking down everything you need to know about audit planning.
So, let's start with a big question, right? What is it that transforms a routine, check-the-box audit into something that's actually a strategic asset for the organization? Well, the answer really lies in how we handle risk mitigation.
So what are we talking about here? At its core, risk mitigation is all about the process of managing, reducing, or controlling those risks we've already identified. For auditors, our job isn't just to flag issues. It's to help build stronger internal controls and, really push for effective risk management across the board.
Luckily, there's a roadmap for this. The whole thing breaks down into 6 clear steps. We're going to walk through each one, starting with reviewing the risks and taking it all the way through to monitoring how our recommendations get put into action. Okay, so first things first. Step 1. Before we can even think about fixing anything, we have to have total, crystal clear understanding of the high-priority risks. This means we're digging back into that risk register, looking at the evaluation matrix, and really making sure we get the potential impact. This isn't just busy work, it's the foundation for everything that follows.
And you can see just how different these risks can be, right? For a microfinance bank, the big one might be credit risk because of a shaky loan appraisal process. For an NGO, it's the nightmare scenario of misusing donor funds. And for a manufacturer, it could be something as operational as production downtime because of bad maintenance. Each one needs a totally unique game plan. That brings us to step 2. Once we know the risks, the next logical question is, what is management already doing about them? Our job is to identify the existing controls and risk responses that are currently in place.
Now this is where it gets interesting. This slide really shows the gap between what's supposed to happen and what actually happens. The bank has a credit committee, sure, but the borrower vetting is weak. The NGO says they have dual authorization, but it's not being applied consistently. And the manufacturer has a schedule, but nobody's following up. This is precisely where a good audit adds its value.
And finding that gap leads us directly to step 3, which is the heart of the process. This is where we shift from just analyzing to actually taking action. We use what we've learned to develop or recommend strategies that will bring that risk exposure down to an acceptable level.
And we've basically got 4 main tools in our toolkit. We can suggest they avoid the risk altogether. We can help them reduce it by beefing up controls. We could suggest they transfer the risk, through insurance or outsourcing. Or sometimes, the right call is to simply accept the risk, especially if fixing it costs more than the potential damage.
And here's how that plays out with our examples. For the bank and the NGO, the best strategy is to reduce the risk by making their internal systems stronger. But for that manufacturing company worried about equipment failure, it might actually be smarter and more efficient to transfer that risk by getting a solid insurance policy.
Now, this is a really crucial point. These strategies we come up with, they don't just sit in a report. They become the blueprint for our audit plan. This is what transforms a generic audit into a truly risk-based, targeted engagement. We're not just checking boxes, we're focusing our fire where it's needed most.
So how do we do that? Well, we link these high-risk areas to very specific audit objectives. We then design audit steps that are tailor-made to test that the new mitigation strategies are working. And of course, we make sure our time and resources are prioritized on the areas where controls are weakest.
Of course, none of this works if we do it in a vacuum. Step 5 is all about collaboration. We absolutely have to communicate what we've found and what we plan to do with management. We need to get everyone on the same page, working towards the same goals. And the goal here is really important. We're not just telling them what we're doing, we're validating that our ideas are actually feasible, and we're getting their buy-in on the timing and who owns the fix. Getting this right early on just makes everything smoother. Plus, it encourages them to start taking action right away, which is a huge win.
Which brings us to our final step, and this one is ongoing, monitoring. A great audit doesn't just end when the report is delivered. We have to follow up to make sure those agreed-upon actions were actually implemented, and, most importantly, that they're actually working. This might mean doing specific follow-up reviews or even using continuous auditing techniques. We keep tabs on their progress, and then, in the next audit cycle, we reassess what's left, what we call the residual risk. It creates this fantastic, continuous loop of improvement.
Okay, I know that was a lot to take in, so let's pause for a second and pull this entire 6-step process together into one clean summary.
This table just lays it all out perfectly. You can see the clear purpose for each step and the tangible thing you get at the end of it, from that validated risk list at the start to the risk-based audit plan in the middle, and finally, the follow-up report that closes the loop. It's a completely logical flow from understanding to action to assurance.
All right, let's wrap this up by boiling it all down. What are the key takeaways here, and how does this stuff actually apply in the real world?
So what does this all really mean for us? It means the organization's biggest risks aren't just sitting in a report somewhere, they're being actively managed. It means we get to focus our limited time and energy on the areas with the weakest controls, and the end result? A proactive audit that makes the entire organization stronger.
And this is not just theory. Look at how this adapts to different sectors. In microfinance, you're laser-focused on credit appraisal and IT controls. In an NGO, it's all about segregation of duties. For a manufacturer, you're looking at maintenance programs and inventory control. The framework is the same, but the application is always tailored.
So, as we close out, I'll leave you with this to think about. How can you take this 6-step framework and use it to make your next audit engagement more strategic, more focused, and ultimately, a lot more valuable?
Hey, if you found this explainer useful, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the Audit Guidebook channel. We have a lot more content like this for audit students and professionals, and definitely check out the other explainers in our Module 1 series on the audit planning process. Thanks so much for watching.